Okay, so this is the final section of chapter 6, where we kind of talk about life today in South Asia. So kind of jumping in here, one of the first things we're going to talk about is showing population. So the population of South Asia is very, very high, particularly because of India. India is the world's second most populous country after China. The birth rate in India is higher than China, so it's expected that China will be the largest country in the world by 2030. So, that's only 10 years away. A lot of people live in the cities, but obviously rural sections are important for farming, especially near the Ganges River. 7 out of 10 people live in small villages. So, not everybody lives in the cities, but the cities are really crowded. You're going to see that here in a moment. So one of those cities is Mumbai, which is the capital and largest city in India. And it's actually the 4th largest country in the world. Talks about the population density here. So there's 80,100 people per square mile. So that's kind of like the size of Bloomington in a square mile, 5,280 feet by 5,280 feet. That's not a tremendous amount of land to have 80,000 people packed into that. That is 7 times the world average. So Mumbai is not the only large city, but it is a massive city in India. That obviously puts a strain on resources. There are slums that exist in India because of poverty. Air and water pollution are common as well. It has 2 official languages. One of those is Hindi. Sounds very similar to the religion Hindu, or people that practice Hinduism, but also English, and that comes from being a British colony. A lot of things have been renamed over time. For example, Mumbai used to be known as Bombay, but that was a name given by the Portuguese. So kind of a return, they call that nationalism, or return to, more of a focus on that country's culture, not getting names from other places or using, foreigners giving the names to things. You can see the languages here of Pakistan and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Different languages are spoken. We've already talked a little bit in class about religion here. So you can see that Hinduism, Islam, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, and Christianity are all practiced. And we've talked about Buddhism and Hinduism in class. We'll talk a little bit more about it in this presentation. Sikhism is something we haven't talked about too much. So it, again, was a response to Hinduism. Its leader is called a guru, which is a word that we use too. That's a teacher, but it is a monotheistic religion. Now, there are 1.1 billion people who practice Hinduism. Some of the things, we will watch a short video in class that shows this, but practice puja, and that's a variety of things, but it could be like a mantra, something that's recited over and over and over again. Often it kind of sounds more like almost like a humming. When I've heard it in like videos and stuff, there will be often temples in a home, and they will light candles and they ring bells, and all these things have significance to those. So there are several holidays. One of them, since it's November right now, is Diwali, and that's a festival of lights, which is interesting because Hanukkah is the festival of lights in the Jewish faith. So maybe you've heard of the Festival of Lights before, but this is Diwali. Just some videos you can watch later on. Buddhism, and this is the Dalai Lama here, who is kind of like a very important person in Buddhism. So Buddhists also practice puja, and that's that mantra, sometimes making offerings in temples. There's a holiday, Veska is a holiday that celebrates the birth, alignment, and death of Gautama Buddha. So that Buddhism also has holidays. Just talking about some dance that you would see in India. Um, this lady right here, you'll see it, I think, on the next slide, is playing a sitar. You may have heard this. Like sometimes it even makes its way into like more American music. Sounds kind of like a high pitched guitar a little bit. Um, so there's been musicians that have used it here as well. So the sitar is an Indian instrument. Lots of strings, I believe, on that, like way more than the six that are on a guitar. Uh, Another thing that's interesting about India is they've had a flourishing movie scene. So they call it Bollywood, um, and that's in Mumbai, and it's kind of like Hollywood, except it's India. So some of those movies will make it here to the United States, but most of them, I think, stay in India or the South Asia. But they're becoming kind of increasingly popular here. It says, in fact, films from the Indian generate more revenue in the United States than do films from any other country. Mainly because we're a lot, we watch a lot of movies. Not as much with COVID going on, but we do watch movies more than other countries, I think. Cricket is a popular sport. Kind of comes from England and the colonization that existed there. Things like soccer are also really popular. So cricket is played kind of similar to baseball, except there's like, if I remember correctly, there's like two bases and you run like just back and forth. And I think the scores for games can be really high. And I think games can go on for a really long time. And you don't use a bat, you use this like paddle thing. And the ball, I think, is smaller. So cricket, popular game in India. Um, this is kind of interesting too. Arranged marriages are something that are fairly common in South Asia. Other cultures use it as well. Gandhi, who we talked about in class, he had an arranged marriage, which is basically where like mom and dad pick out who you're going to date, and it's more with the intention of marrying. So, why do they do that? Well, because of the caste system, to keep people in social classes, finding people that are compatible. Mom and dad kind of played matchmaker. I know that may strike us as kind of strange. And I do think that most of the marriages in an arranged marriage have lasted. Like it doesn't often lead to divorce, which may strike us as kind of funny that, you don't get to decide who you get to marry. And, it's just very different than Western culture here in the United States. So arranged marriages are kind of decreasing in popularity, but a thing that has existed in India and other parts of South Asia. A lot of rice is eaten in this region. I mean, Indian food is heavy in rice. Curry is popular. There are different types of curry. There's like green and red curry. There's some other types as well. You'll see it in other types of Asian cooking. I know Thai food has a lot of curry in it. So, I believe one of the popular dishes for Indian food is tikka masala, I believe. And I think that is a type of curry as well. One of the big challenges is just making a living. The standard of living is pretty low in a lot of South Asia. Good cropland for good farming is scarce. And with urbanization taking over, there's less farmland to be had. The Green Revolution is something talked about in the book, has helped to increase crop yields, and it involves the use of irrigation, fertilizer, and high yield crops. So, crops, it's a scientific thing with engineering things to be drought resistant. And so there's a lot of work to, make better crops that are going to places in South Asia. There's other industries like mining and fishing, Indian computer specialists. And one thing we might want to acknowledge is that, I think a lot of times because of the difference in time, especially like in the evening, if you need to call for IT support, you're having an issue with your satellite or something, and you call like a 1-800 number to get some help. Often those people might be in India. They're on the other side of the world, so it's daytime there. It's hard to pay an American to want to work, at 10:30 at night, to answer phone calls. So they will often hire people in other countries. So gaining skills in like technology can be useful to even just kind of help people here. And then it talks about ecotourism here is also an important industry. Because English is widely spoken, the country is well suited for outsourcing. And that's what I was just kind of talking about, that, these people will be answering phone calls coming from the United States. So often times when you're calling for help online or over the phone, you may not be getting somebody that's in the United States. Faces many challenges. India's had several assassinations. We'll talk about Gandhi. Also, was a person that died because of what he stood for. Um, there, even though they outlawed the caste system, there are people called untouchables that are discriminated against and outcasts, and they're kind of born into that system and they really can't escape from it. So there's been some efforts to try to end that. And then India and Pakistan, they've been kind of at odds for a long time. Pakistan was carved out of India. Pakistan is mainly Muslim. India is mainly Hindu. So there's just been kind of like a fight over land. And then there's particularly this region called Kashmir that they have kind of fought over. So not without their share of issues there. And these are just some of the other issues. There's been civil war in Sri Lanka. Nepal has had some issues as well. Deforestation is a problem. So there are issues just in other parts of the world, in this part of the world of South Asia. Yeah, and I think that really will kind of be about it for this video. So big focus on India and the religions there. Some of the holidays are kind of important to know. And just even kind of there's a lasting impact of Europeans on things like English is spoken and cricket is popular. So those things, even though Great Britain is not present there today, still lasting influence. So that will do it for this chapter. Thanks.